$4,300. That's what you owe. Not what you spent. Not what you enjoyed. What you owe. You check the app at 10:17 on a Tuesday night. And the number sits there, with the same indifference it had yesterday, and the day before. You didn't mean for it to get here. That's the thing nobody says out loud. Nobody means for it to get here. It arrived the way most things arrive. Gradually, then completely. One reasonable decision at a time. This is what debt feels like at the beginning. Not catastrophic. Not even uncomfortable, exactly. Just present. A number that follows you from tab to tab. From paycheck to paycheck. From the moment you wake up, to the moment you finally stop thinking about it. Sometime around midnight. You tell yourself it's fine. Everybody has debt. This is technically true. It is not as comforting as you need it to be. Level 1, $0 to $5,000. It starts with something small. A credit card you opened for the sign-up bonus. Or because the airport lounge access seemed worth it. Or because you needed a way to pay for something the week before payday. And the math looked manageable. The first charge is $340. A car repair. An unavoidable thing. You tell yourself you'll pay it off next month. You mostly do. You leave $140 on it because something else came up. It rolls. The interest is $3.20. You barely notice. This is how debt teaches you its first lesson. It is patient. It does not announce itself. It compounds quietly in the background. While you are busy living your life, and telling yourself the balance is small enough not to matter. By the time the card hits $2,000, you have stopped thinking of it as a problem. And started thinking of it as furniture. It is simply part of the room. You work around it. You make the minimum payment, $52 a month, and the balance barely moves. And you understand intellectually why that is. But you don't sit with the arithmetic long enough to feel it. Feeling it would require admitting something you are not ready to admit. The something is this. You are paying for a past version of your life with present money. Every minimum payment is a tax on a decision that already happened. The coffee. The concert. The weekend away that felt necessary at the time. You are still paying for all of it. You will be paying for it for months after you've forgotten it entirely. At $4,300, the card is not your biggest financial problem. It is your most psychologically expensive one. Because at this level, debt is still a choice. You could clear it. Not easily, not without sacrifice. But the number is within reach if you decided it was the priority. Most people at this level do not make that decision. Most people at this level look at $4,300, feel the low hum of manageable discomfort. And direct their attention somewhere less unpleasant. This is the window. Most people don't know it's a window. Until it closes. The first rule. Debt below $5,000 is a math problem. Above it, it starts becoming a personality. Level 2, $5,000 to $20,000. You graduate. The ceremony is warm and the photographs are good. And somewhere in the week that follows, the loan servicer sends you an email with a repayment schedule. That you open and then close, without finishing. The number at the top is $14,200. This is below average for your degree. You know this. Everyone keeps saying this. It does not make the number feel small. The first payment is $147 a month on a standard 10-year plan. You set up autopay because the alternative. Manually authorizing $147 to leave your account every single month for the next decade. Felt like a form of psychological self-harm you weren't prepared to perform. So now it just disappears. Quietly. Without drama. You add it to the list of fixed costs. And you stop thinking about it the way you stop thinking about the electric bill. It is simply the cost of having had an education. This is the normalization phase, and it is the most dangerous phase. Because nothing about it feels dangerous. You have a job. You have a salary with a comma in it. You have a credit card balance that is annoying but not alarming. You have a student loan that everyone your age also has. The math on paper says you are fine. The math on paper is not lying to you. It is just not telling you the whole story. Here is the part of the story the math leaves out. At $147 a month on a $14,200 loan at 6.5% interest, you will pay $17,640 over 10 years. You borrowed $14,200. You will return $17,640. The extra $3,440 is the price of time. The price of paying slowly. The price of making the minimum because the minimum felt like enough. Then comes the car. You need it for the job. This part is true. The specific model was a decision. The 72-month loan at 7.2% APR on a $19,500 vehicle was a decision. The payment is $378 a month. With insurance, you are now moving $572 a month toward 2 depreciating obligations. Before you have paid rent, or bought food, or done anything at all with your life. You do not think about it this way. Nobody does, at this level. You think about it payment by payment, month by month. As a series of individual manageable numbers. Rather than as a system you have built, that runs in one direction only. Your total debt at 24 is $29,400. You feel fine. You feel normal. You feel the way the water feels. Before it starts to get warm. The second rule. Normalization is not the same as stability. A number that feels manageable is still compounding. Level 3, $20,000 to $45,000. Somewhere between 25 and 28, something shifts that you don't have a clean name for. The debts are still individual. The student loan, the car that never quite gets to zero. But they have started to function as a unit. They have started to have opinions about your life. You are offered a job in a city you want to live in. The salary is $7,000 more than your current one. The cost of living is $1,100 more per month. You run the numbers 3 times. The numbers say no. You stay. The debt made that decision. You don't frame it that way. You say the timing wasn't right. You say you'll look again next year. You do not look again next year. Your friend invites you to her wedding abroad. You want to go. You want to go genuinely, not performatively. She is the kind of friend who means something. The trip would cost $3,100. You do not have $3,100 in a form you can spend without consequence. You go to the wedding on a credit card. And spend 6 months paying it off. And feel a particular kind of financial shame that has no official name. But that anyone who has ever paid for presents on borrowed money will recognize immediately. At $38,000 in total debt, your relationship with risk changes. Not rationally. Emotionally. You become conservative in ways you cannot fully explain. You do not start the side project. You do not take the course. You do not have the conversation with your manager about the role you actually want. Because what if it doesn't work out, and what if something changes? And the debt is already enough to manage without adding any new variables. You tell yourself you are being practical. You are being something else. You are being someone whose financial floor is thin enough. That uncertainty feels like a threat, rather than an invitation. This is the invisible tax. Not the interest. Not the monthly payments. The decisions you do not make. The risks you do not take. The version of yourself that does not get built. Because the person who would have built it was too financially constrained to afford the cost of trying. Your net worth at 27 is approximately negative $31,000. You do not look at the number this way. Looking at it this way would require combining all the balances in a single column. And subtracting them from your assets. And sitting with the result without flinching. Most people at this level do not do the calculation. Most people at this level manage each debt individually, in separate mental compartments. Because the combined number is a thing they are not ready to see all at once. The third rule. Debt at this level doesn't just cost you money. It costs you moves. And moves, in your 20s, are the only currency that matters. Level 4, $45,000 to $75,000. You are 30. You did not plan to be here. Not this here, the number, the weight of it. The way it has quietly rewritten the architecture of your life. While you were busy managing individual payments and telling yourself you were on top of it. But here is the number. $61,000. Student loans at $11,400. Car loan refinanced twice, currently at $14,200. Credit cards across 3 accounts totaling $9,800. A personal loan you took to consolidate the cards 2 years ago, balance now $12,100 after the cards grew back. A medical bill on a payment plan, $13,500 remaining. You look at the full number for the first time. Not the individual components. The full number. You write it in the Notes app on your phone, and stare at it for a long moment. $61,000. You close the Notes app. You open it again. The number has not changed. This is the identity phase. Because at $61,000, debt is no longer a financial condition. It is a structural one. It has opinions about where you live, who you live with. Whether you can afford to leave a job that is making you miserable. Whether you can take a month to figure out what you actually want. It has weight. Actual architectural weight. You feel it in decisions you make without realizing you are making them. The apartment you do not move out of. The relationship you stay in past the point of honesty, because the economics of separating feel impossible right now. The career conversation you postpone, because stability feels more valuable than direction when the floor beneath you is this thin. You are not alone in this room. The Federal Reserve reports that the average American between 25 and 34 carries over $42,000 in non-mortgage debt. The average. Which means half the room is worse. You are not a statistical anomaly. You are a statistical average. This is either comforting or devastating, depending on what you need the moment you hear it. Your friend Marcus bought a house last year. You went to the housewarming. You stood in his kitchen drinking wine he'd bought for the occasion. And you looked at the walls he was allowed to paint whatever color he wanted. And you felt something that had no single clean name. Not envy exactly. Something older. Something that tasted like the distance between where you are and where you thought you would be by now. You don't tell Marcus about the $61,000. You don't tell anyone about the $61,000. You have become very good at being fine. You answer good when people ask how you are doing. You say you are working on some things. You smile in the way that closes the subject. Without inviting further questions. The debt has taught you this too. How to perform stability. How to make a number disappear from conversation by never letting it enter one. The fourth rule. At this level, debt doesn't just limit your options. It starts editing your identity. You become the person whose life is shaped around a number nobody knows exists. Level 5, $75,000 to $100,000. You are 34. The number is $91,000. You know exactly how it happened. That is the thing about this level that surprises people from the outside. They assume you don't know. You know. You can account for every significant decision. Every moment the trajectory bent. Every choice that felt reasonable at the time and looks different now. From the vantage point of a Tuesday evening, when you finally open every account simultaneously and add the column without looking away. The student loans are federal, $28,400, income-driven repayment. Which means the monthly payment adjusts to your income and the balance barely moves. And the interest accumulates with the patience of something that has no incentive to hurry. You have been in repayment for 11 years. You owe more today than you did on the day you graduated. This is not an accident. This is the design of a system that benefits from your balance remaining large. You understand this now. Understanding it does not reduce what you owe. The car is a lease now. The math on leasing versus buying is something you looked at once and found inconclusive. And then chose leasing because the monthly number was lower. And the monthly number was the number that mattered when the budget was already this tight. The lease payment is $389. You have been leasing consecutively for 6 years. You own nothing. You have paid $27,000 in lease payments and possess no asset. You know this. You do the calculation when you cannot sleep. The credit cards are $18,200 across 4 accounts. One of them has a promotional rate expiring in 47 days. You have it flagged. You do not currently have a plan for the 47 days. And then there is the thing you don't say at parties. The thing that lives in the back of the drawer in the mental filing system. Where you keep the information that is true, but too heavy to carry in front. You have $14,000 in a 401k. It took you 12 years to build it. You have considered withdrawing it 4 times in those 12 years. Twice you got as far as starting the paperwork. The 10% penalty. The income tax hit. The future version of yourself that would have nothing. You put the paperwork away. Both times. But the fact that you got that far is something you think about at 2 a.m. When the math won't stop running. At $91,000, the debt is no longer something you have. It is something you live inside. The ceiling is lower. The walls are closer. Every financial decision happens within a room that the debt built. According to dimensions the debt determined. With light the debt controls. You have not taken a real holiday in 3 years. Not because you cannot find the time. Because the cost of the time away from the budget is a thing you cannot currently absorb. You are not broken. This is important. You go to work. You are good at it. You have people in your life who matter. You have a life that from the outside looks entirely intact. The debt is not visible from the outside. This is one of its defining features. It does the most damage in the places nobody sees. The 5th rule. Above $75,000, debt doesn't feel like a number anymore. It feels like weather. Something you live inside. Rather than something you carry. The reckoning. There is a version of this story where you tell me you are going to start next month. After the holidays. Once things settle down. Once the car is paid off. Once the credit card drops below a round number that feels like a real starting point. You have said some version of this before. The month came. Things did not settle. The car payment ended and something else began. The round number on the card lasted 11 days. Before something necessary charged to it. There is another version. In this version, you open the Notes app, and you write the full number. Not the individual components. The total. You write it, and you do not close the app. You sit with it the way you would sit with any true thing. Without flinching. Without immediately constructing a reason why it isn't as bad as it looks. You let it be the number it is. Then you do one thing. Not a plan. Not a system. Not a complete financial overhaul that requires willpower you have not yet located. One thing. The smallest debt. You find it. You add every extra dollar you can find to it this month. Just this month. The big loan does not move. The car does not move. But one number gets smaller because of a decision you made. And that is different from every number getting larger because of decisions that already happened. This is the beginning. Not a transformation. Not a redemption arc. Just the moment you stop letting the number be the thing that happens to you. And start being the person who happens to the number. The debt took years to build. It will take years to dismantle. But the distance between $91,000 and $0 is not as different from the distance between $4,300 and $0 as it feels from the inside. Both start in the same place. A Tuesday. A Notes app. A number you finally stop looking away from. $4,300. That's where it started. Not with catastrophe. With a car repair, and a minimum payment. And the quiet, patient arithmetic of a thing that grows. Because nobody is paying close enough attention to stop it. The number was never the real story. The real story is the version of you that couldn't be built while you were busy managing it. The moves you didn't make. The risks that felt too expensive. The life that kept getting smaller. To fit inside the space the debt allowed. You know the number now. You've been knowing it. You just hadn't said it out loud yet. Say it out loud. Then start.